おはようございます。こんにちは。こんばんは。バイオリニスト指揮者の西谷邦人です。In English, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Kunito Nishitani, violinist and conductor in Tokyo, Japan. Today, fortunately, I got a chance to interview renowned violinist Professor Federico Agostini before his masterclass in my teaching violin studio. I hope that you enjoy his interview. He talked about his childhood story, so it's really interesting. ラッキーにも、すごい有名な、世界的に有名なフェデリコ・アゴスティーニ教授の、インタビューをすることが今日できました。その後に実は私の教室で、彼のマスタークラス公開レッスンがあったわけなんですけど、皆さんそのインタビュー楽しんで、見てもらえばなと思います。それではお楽しみください。Okay, so welcome to the Kunito's podcast and then YouTube. I really want to introduce great violinist in the world, Professor Federico Agostini. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Maybe having me.
Yes. Great.
Yes.
So we can, hear the great interview from the Professor Federico Agostini, and I'm really glad I have an interview with you. So today I would like to ask about your childhood story. And
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, well, it's a while ago. And I think we seldom have a chance to ask first class great violinist in the world about the childhood story. So it is really great chance to hear about it. And first, could you tell us your childhood story, like why did you when and why did you start to begin the violin, to learn the violin?
Well, I was born in Trieste, Italy.
In Italy.
In a family of professional musicians.
Wow.
So my grandfather was a violinist, a professional violinist, who studied violin with Sevcik in Prague.
Sevcik is a very basic idea. Wow.
And he put a violin in my hands when I was about 6 years old. And he has been, his son, which is my uncle, was famous violinist Franco Gulli.
Wow.
And my grandfather was responsible for putting a violin in his hands as well. So, and it proved to be a successful adventure eventually. And he tried to repeat the same thing with me when I was 6 years old. And that's how the whole thing began. So
before you started the violin, were you not interested in playing the violin, or because your father and
I could hear music all around me all the time, so that it was like food for me. It was just a natural thing. So I was not surprised that my grandfather wanted to try. Would you like to try to play the violin? I said yes.
Wow, it's a wonderful environment.
Further, thoughts. So,
yeah. Great. And why you interested in something piece? Like, did you have a piece you wanted to play? Before you.
There were many pieces that I wanted to play.
Because you you listen to a lot of the violin pieces.
Yeah, and I was of course trying to play them, but I was always warned by my grandfather: be careful, always. Everything at its pace and at its time. So that's maybe this is too early for you now. So just follow my guidance.
Great, I understand.
Yeah.
So your teacher was actually your father, grandfather.
Yes, first teacher. Then when he passed away, unfortunately, then I joined the local conservatory of music.
Wow.
And I studied there with a nice professor.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Was your grandfather very strict? I mean, when you studied, like.
My grandfather had an innate pedagogical sense. He knew how to treat, how to deal with children. So he had a very good pedagogical sense. So he was not too strict, but he was very demanding, for sure.
So, do you think he had a lot of experience teaching us too?
Yeah. He had a studio.
So that's why.
Yes.
And you might be a special because
your relationship.
Your relationship
Yes.
was. So, and then did you feel something? You were special or something when you studied?
Not really. He was able to make the, let's say, the separation from that.
Oh, okay.
When we make lesson, it's a relationship between professor and student. It's not grandfather and
so he changed when he had a lesson.
Yes,
Great.
Sure.
Okay, so in my class, there are a lot of elementary school kids and junior high school kids too. And then, what piece in your childhood was the most important piece? We imagine you played many different difficult concerts when you were child because you were a fantastic player and
Well, I must disappoint you because I didn't play so many difficult things. Exactly for the same reason I was mentioning before. My grandfather was very gradual. He never tried to hammer a piece of music, difficult piece of music, if I wouldn't have the necessary technical preparation, adequate preparation. So he was insisting on certain exercises, like Sevchik, of course, and then gradually add up some repertoire. I remember we did the Tartini concerto in A minor, for instance. That was actually the last piece that he heard from me playing before he passed away. So, and the usual childhood things like for Corelli Folia, then Berlioz and the ballet, these kind of things, and a lot of etudes and exercises. So.
How was the beginning? Did you play normally recently we start the violin from Twinkle Twinkle Little Star stuff, but didn't you play anything like that?
Actually, my grandfather invented himself a method based on Sevchik, but even a little bit more preparatory to the Sevchik. So I remember I had been staying on open strings for quite a long time.
Why not? Why didn't you think it was boring? Maybe I want to quit violin.
No, it was fun, and then he had a nice way of presenting the thing to me, so that it was appealing, and that it was nice, it was not boring at all. And then he would play duets.
Wow.
If I play open strings, he invented the melody either on the piano or on his own violin. He would accompany me, so I developed the sense of playing together.
He tried to make fun for you.
Yeah. And so after the open strings came first finger, and I was stuck with the first finger for quite a number of weeks. And then second finger, and finally third and fourth finger. So it was very, very, very gradual and very, serious. Just put all the fingers right away, all over the place, and so it was serious.
That's a secret, I think, to learn.
Patience.
It's patience, right?
Patience. You need patience as a teacher. You need patience as a student. You need patience as a parent.
Absolutely.
See, the parent is too pushy. It's never bringing good results, in my opinion.
I actually totally agree with you. I would like to ask about the competition in Japan, because you saw a lot of competitors in Japan as an educator, and how do you think them generally? You saw actually a lot of competitors in the world, and how do you think their characters and especially strength and weakness, and if you have an idea to figure out the weakness, I would like to ask you, I'd like to answer it.
Yeah, I think there are many competitions around the world, and of course in Japan, and I think that sometimes there are too many competitions.
Yeah, recently.
but I agree that competitions provide a certain deal of motivation for a young person to prepare solidly a repertoire program and present it to the best of his abilities. That's the. Other than that, I'm not very fond of competitions because I don't think that competitions have much to do with art or music. So it's not Olympics.
Yeah, it's not big character.
But unfortunately, they are necessary because it's one of the ways to get visibility as a player. Even if you don't win the competition, you have been heard, and maybe somebody will remember, and that it's something that can lead to a future in one way or in another.
So
about
Japanese competitors.
Competitions, I find that the seriousness of the preparation and the solidity of the preparation is just astounding for me.
Wow.
So this is something that we don't see very often.
They make a lot of efforts.
They make a lot of efforts. I think it's a little bit something ingrained in the society. So that's when we decide to do something, we can do it well. So that's
therefore
not all geniuses, but at least they are extremely very well prepared.
Advantages really high enough.
Because they have good teachers and they have their own talent and their own qualities, and they work seriously. So that's probably the main strength.
Glad to hear about it.
I noticed that teaching also, disregarding competitions for a moment, but also the Japanese students in schools are very serious compared to other parts of the world.
You think so?
I think so. They have work ethics. You know, they are committed to their work, to their job, to their family, to their school, the institution, and everything. So when they decide to do something, they do it well. So
especially time is actually really we are strict for timing.
Yes.
You know, if we meet at time, if I say let's meet at 9 a.m. and we need to meet at 15 minutes before.
This is a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it's wonderful. How about weakness? That I want to ask most.
My main concern, but I can be.
It depends on the competitions. I know, but something like Japanese culture or Japanese.
For me, it's the like I was saying before. Sometimes the young person is fed with too demanding pieces, concerto or piece, and not having really basic preparation for that. But the thing has been hammered into their system in some ways, and I think that it may be good for a little period of time, but then I'm not sure that it develops into something more.
Yeah, if they become professional players, of course we need to do scale calculation or 7/6 or stuff. But unless they try to practice and scale on the 7/6, then they cannot be a professional easily.
And then another thing is that staying too long with the same piece, for instance, that's something that leads to stagnancy at some point. So I believe in variety, so that you prepare a piece to the best of your ability, and then you put it away. You let the cake bake, basically. There is a sort of maturation of even without playing the piece, that takes place.
Yeah, the Japanese players maybe need to have more repertoires, and, especially for students. You know, when
I think stay too long on a piece can become a little boring.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't find anymore any
a newer
inspiration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How about expressions? You know, I have heard when I was United States, Japanese people, I mean, especially for Asian players, move, you know, violin too much or dancing too much or something like performing. I'm talking about performing expression. How do you think about it?
But I think that in some cases, these movements, body movements, sometimes I find them
Unnatural.
First of all, unnecessary.
Unnecessary, like unnatural.
And sometimes unnatural because they are taught. They are
like
you know,
teacher actually mentioned about it.
You should move this way. You should move that way. Just for the looks, and there are movements that are not functional, you know, to the play.
But if it works for musically, I mean, for their music, you know, like if the performance works for their music, it becomes natural.
That's fine, but it shouldn't be the movements of the body shouldn't be predominating because sometimes the wrong movement can affect the sound and the technique in general. So
that doesn't.
Yeah. And it's extremely distracting as well.
Right. That's really a problem.
Yeah.
Great.
You see the great violinists of the past, you know, Heifetz, Bechstein, they barely move, you know. Because everything is essential, economical, you know, to the, you know. But some people think, oh, that's cold. That's not cold. Just efficient.
Actually, since I'm grand, I understand it. Okay, so since your grandfather studied with Sevcik, recently actually I'm researching the Sevcik here. Can you see it?
Wow.
I played actually many Sevcik actually.
Yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah, because when I was a student, actually, I just studied Opus 8 for guiding notes, like position shifting stuff, and then Opus 1, Part 4, and then like double stop stuff. I did just only 2 of them, and then I think these are really important for my students, and then I'm wondering where I should teach from it, and of course Opus 1 and 1.
Opus 1 is for me fundamental.
Very fundamental. Yeah. But do you think even the student plays really high level like Tchaikovsky, Mendelssohn, somebody concerto? Do you think they should learn the Opus 1?
Not learn, but keep doing it.
Keep
as a daily gymnastics and training for the ear. So make sure that you are really playing even and perfectly in tune. Because the Sevcik method is based on the location of the half step and the whole step.
So it needs to know it.
So they give you this. If they are done properly with due care, they guarantee perfect intonation for the rest of your days. But you should keep doing them. Like sort of gymnastics for the students and so.
Even students are passed, if your teacher says, okay, you pass, Sevcik Opus 1, you keep needs to doing. You really need to keep doing always, Sevcik. You mean?
I think it's important. It's like everything in life. For instance, if you want to be in shape. Physically, you better move.
Right, needs to running
or exercise. These are like that.
It's like that.
There is no musical content, but it's a way to verify the health of your left hand.
Left-handed already.
Opus 2 for the bow arm.
Yeah, this is actually I'm wondering how to use it though. So there are a lot of actual ways, and then
a lifetime is not enough.
It's variations. There's like thousands.
There's so many.
It's crazy.
Actually, recently I rediscovered Opus 3.
Oh,
Opus
right.
3,
Opus 3 must be.
Violinist.
That's really organized well.
Yeah, it's a little bit more condensed.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can, if the student can already afford, it's very, very good.
Yeah,
Because,
like
it's less boring. It has some kind of musical value here and there. So
wow. So Professor Federico actually recommended Opus 3, okay?
for the
For boring, not for left hand. So. Okay, thank you very much. So for the last, finally, give the comment to your fans. You know, there are a lot of fans in the world. So I want you to give something comments for your fans.
let's get rid of altogether of this corona situation, because that is not good, and the concert life is suffering because of that.
Yeah,
so
the last
we
2
all
years
need
was great.
to go and play again in public. So I think that's something that all together we have to make an effort and try to get rid of the virus as soon as it is possible. So it's a good health to everybody. So
Great. We need to be really careful. Thank you very much
Yeah,
for
you're
interviewing.
welcome.
Great.
thank you so much.
Yeah, everyone is really happy to listen to your actual interview. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.